What's going on, Founder University? We have a very polarizing episode and guest for you on the pod today. We have Bryce North. He is the CEO of a PR firm called Don't Be a Little Pitch. He is a very polarizing person. He has some hot takes, and we cover everything about PR strategies to brand building and even cold outbound strategy, where he says he's grown his business 95% through cold email. So he has some really great insights there. Watch the episode for yourself. You're either going to love this guy or you're going to hate this guy. So I hope you enjoy and can take something out of this to help your business grow. Speak soon. Bryce, good to be connected. Thanks for jumping on. I'm excited to talk to someone who knows the PR world better than myself.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. Kind of your methodology around how you talk to businesses and just like practical advice is like pretty cool, right? I think we all need a bit of lifting sometimes and not just bad info shoved down our throats. So yeah, I'm excited to be here and see if I can kind of shine some knowledge if I can.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's has sort of their blinders on and so busy in their own worlds, especially founders, like running and doing a million different things. So if you can learn from other people quickly and get some more knowledge, I think it's beneficial to everyone. So we'll sort of jump into it. But I wanted to give some context because we got connected online and stuff like that. And I don't know if I told you this before, but really the only reason I reached out is like, one, I'm interested in the PR world because I don't know anything about it. And I assume there's huge benefits associated with it. So I personally want to learn from you and see what I can leverage in my own business. But I was more intrigued by your brand. Don't Be a Little Pitch. Looking through your website and seeing sort of like the humor and human side that you put into your content, which really caught my eye and seemed very unique. And I guess from your perspective, and just for the listeners so they know, like Bryce, you run a PR agency focusing, and you correct me if I'm wrong, mostly in software companies and helping them get the word out there and grow their brands. But I would love to understand like how you use your humor and sort of these eye-catching approaches to build the brand, because it's very unique. I don't see many people using a play on words for "don't be a little bitch," using it as "don't be a little pitch" to build a brand.
It's been a lot of fun. So yeah, a bit of correction there. We do like mostly e-commerce and SaaS. Like we do a lot of like rep management, a lot of stuff. Like just really interesting people coming in. Those businesses sometimes that like are not really traditional, that are selling maybe like more like unrecognizable or really inappropriate things. So like those professional businesses too. So like we get like wide spectrum, but the goal is like polarization. So this name does all the marketing for me that I really don't have to do a lot sometimes. And this comes down to this is the number one key. You got to polarize. And that's the number one thing of standing out, being different, and cutting through that clutter. We talk about it, but like, let's be honest. If you're not evangelizing people and making them on that part of the spectrum where they love you, you're not going to have people going out screaming your names and wanting to talk to you. Keep in mind, though, I mean, with a lot of lovers, there's haters. And so I don't play safe and I don't play in the middle. I do get a lot of angry emails and people not liking us, but I also have so much positivity where you are like everyone else says, I love the name. I had Stripe reach out to me, $1 billion company for to do some sort of proposals and some deals and some large enterprises. It's incredible if you kind of take a look at how you can utilize humor and like disarm people by telling stories. And so that's a brand. I stopped giving a shit, and I think that made people relaxed. On my sales calls and our marketing, I don't go and shove sales tactics, and I don't go and try to convince people I'm going to perform. I try to make them seem like I do one thing very well. And this is like the secret I found to any time I've done business with clients. I care just as much as their business as they do. And so I've hired agencies before that have failed me, but they cared so much about helping me grow that I kept them on retainer for a long time. And then they didn't perform, but they really helped me, not just as a therapist, but also understanding what I need to go through and offering advice. It's a lonely world, a lot of struggles, a lot of bad information. Honestly, if you can trust somebody and just really relay back and forth what works, you kind of have them locked in. So our whole methodology around everything we do is I'm going to use a lot of humor to get you the attention you need because it works.
Yeah.
We're going to utilize that humor in telling some really cool stories and disarm people because any world, whether e-commerce or their SaaS, there's two rules that always apply around all of this. Number one is that people are attracted to other people's rough edges. And what I mean by this is like that transparency and that vulnerability. Brands are no longer faceless. So if you're one of those CEOs and says, I can't attach my name to this brand because I want to scale and exit, you've kind of lost everything right there. We build that, then we separate, because once we actually really build up notoriety and success about people believing in you, law number two kicks in where people always buy better versions of themselves. That's flexibility, freedom, more efficiency, more money, whatever that is. And so
Yeah.
everything around this is just offering a way to disarm people, making them show that you care, but also at the same time, making sure that they felt understood.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's super interesting. And I can tell by speaking to you, even for the few minutes we've spoken already, it's also authentic. Like you're not trying to be cute, you're not trying to be humorous. Like that's just who you are as a person. And I see this all the time with people who are trying to build brands. Is like on calls they're like an absolute mess, and online they're really buttoned up in like corporate and enterprise, or the opposite. They're like trying to be funny and cute online, and you speak to them, they can't even hold a conversation. It's like the brands don't match, and you sort of have to be true to who you are. And yeah, if your brand was "Don't Be a Little Pitch" and that's the name of your company, but you can't hold a conversation or crack a joke or build bonds with people, it wouldn't really follow through and serve you guys well.
No, that's completely correct, and it's interesting. And like everything I do, from like cold outreach to working with people, it's just humor, right? It's like I don't sell, I listen, I talk, and I provide a walk through how things work. And I think that sells a lot better than trying to push solutions down people's throats.
Yeah, 100%. You also touched on a super interesting thing about personal brand and corporate brand, which is maybe a newer topic in the brand world and also in the PR world. Is like historically in B2B especially, it was all about PR for the company. It's like, how do we get our new feature out there? How do we get our new Series A raise out there, or acquisition, or whatever it may be? But I don't know, you would know the timeline better. In the last 5-10 years, like it's been more like, how do I actually build a brand for Mark Zuckerberg, who's going to support Facebook, instead of just promoting a Facebook and getting Facebook out there? It's actually about the person behind the scenes who's running the thing and building their brand to support it. What's your take on PR and brand building when it comes to like CEOs and founders for their companies, or companies themselves? Like, do you think one can live without the other, or they should support each other? You should focus on both, or is one more important than the other? Like, what's your take on that now? Because it's
Yeah,
changed a lot.
it has, and it's a good question. I mean, if you're kind of starting out and you're a smaller enterprise, I'd say, not a big corporation, maybe under Series A, I say it's extremely important to have a personal tie with your personal brand to the corporation, but not too close. I mean, you are not the company. We need to really dictate that. A lot of people get lost in being in their brand. Your personal brand needs to separate from the corporate brand. Why? Like I mentioned, you are, as the founder, the guru, the person that people believe in, that needs to lead this vision, the one that tells the stories and dictates the problems. Once you do that, you have your cult following. You have those that actually understand what the problems you're pushing out there, and these are just multiple storylines. And why this is important, because as an individual, you're going to be sitting on boards, launching new companies, being part of different initiatives. You're not one product, and you shouldn't be. So you're out there as a guru dictating where this industry and market should be. Your products, your brands, your companies, your positions, your initiatives are all solutions to whatever you're dictating out there. And so in the very beginning, you need to build trust. There's a very interesting study out there that shows that when people do new transactions with companies, the people they trust the least is the CEO and the C-suite. And the people they trust the most are third-party reviews and testimonials. And this actually flips once they do a dollar transaction. That's when they get on your newsletters and your marketing and actually really believe what you're putting down there. Why we have cult following for like Elon Musk and Jobs and Zuckerberg for all of this. It's because we consume, and now we want to follow and be part of their experience. People buy better versions of themselves. They also buy future dreams of what they want to be. And so when we take a look at our personal brands, we need to be building that in order to do many things, such as building confidence in our companies, but also at the same time, raising money, attracting talent. PR is great for opportunity. And when I say opportunity, is that when we do things right, people will be knocking on your door, asking for partnerships, retail deals, some sort of investments, whatever that is. And so we're looking for these handshake, these open door moments that actually creates a storyline that people want to follow, envision, and actually be part of the bigger picture. So your personal brand is extremely important. We build that up. You need to build that up, go out there, but at the same time, start building up your company's brand. And this is where it gets interesting, because your authority piece in your personal brand, but your company's brand is not pitching products or solutions. It's actually championing customers. And that's like one of the point where I think a lot of people screw up on is, I'm going to say why we're great and why we're good. Your job is not to promote what you're doing. It's to promote the journeys of those you're solving solutions for. So I'm going to say that again. We're solving solutions for our customers or end users, and we're highlighting their journeys, their transformation moments, as well as their stories within the media, within our socials. But as a byproduct, these people will get their claim to fame because they're not getting it anywhere else. But you look like the hero. And as a byproduct, they will raise you up with them, tell your story. And now you're actually looking like you're not on the pedestal, but you're putting other people on there. This is movements. This is stories. This is how you create an army around
Yeah.
personal brands and corporate brands at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. And you keep on using the word story. Is that because a lot of your clients don't understand the concept of telling stories? Because what you're saying
Absolutely.
reminds me a lot of my experience, because my background has always been in SaaS, mostly VC backed SaaS companies. And when I think about PR, our PR pushes historically were always about TechCrunch articles and raising money and launching new products and features and stuff like that. It was very me instead of like you is in terms of the end user, whoever you're helping. And I guess from what you're saying is resonating with me a lot, because it seems like all the companies I've been with, the executive team has always been like, hey, let's talk about how great we are. And if we say how good we are and what we're doing and how much money we're raising, people will show interest. But you're saying that should actually be flipped, is you should actually highlight the problems you solved or the customers you've helped. And don't even mention yourself. And then they'll sort of relate with it more effectively. Am I
A little bit
summarizing
both.
that effectively?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, like, in order to champion your brands, you got to champion your customers. That's the biggest thing, right? Like, that's how you do a product pitch on the corporate side. So you are pitching solutions. People don't buy a hole; they buy a drill. Sorry, my mistake on that. People don't buy a drill; they buy a hole. That's what I wanted to say. So they buy a hole, but what does that hole mean? That hole means is a reason for them to actually hang up artwork and pictures. So when people come over, they can say, "Wow, you got good taste." So essentially, like, you're buying an experience and an influence and an ego, which we all do from other people. So when
Yeah.
we take this on the brand side, yeah, your goal is to promote your customer's journey so you can relate with other people.
Yeah.
Um, and same with your, like, when your personal brand too. How do you relate with other people? You talk about your rock bottom moments, which we'll get into a little bit. But the only way to relate with people is actually to show the struggle of your customers in order for them to buy the product, struggle with you so they can relate with you. It's the
Yeah.
reason why a lot of people relate a lot better with movie actors. When I say relate, as they think they got something in common because they see them on the screen and they see them in these actionable story moments that make them feel like I went through that struggle, whether it's real or not. Our
Yeah.
heroes, business leaders, a lot of times when they don't open up, or I'm going to use Elon Musk. We see him. I'm going to be nervous as hell to talk with him, right? I feel like he's on this pedestal and he's a superhero to me. But when you hear a story of another founder like Richard Branson, what calms me when I hear him talking, because you can relate with his struggles, his failures, and he's so open about that. When we dial this back, the best way to connect with your audience and the best way to show trust is not to talk about your success. Is actually humanize yourself and show those rough edges and actually find a way for other people to connect with you. And we do that through rock bottom moments, struggles, failures, and triumphs.
Yeah, 100%. There's a brand, consumer brand that when you're saying this reminds me a lot of. I don't know if you're familiar with this Canadian chocolate brand called Midday Squares.
Okay.
I don't know if you've had them or you've heard of them, but they do an unbelievable job. I don't even like their product. My wife has them, but they're like these healthier, better for you chocolate bars. And the only reason I say I like them is like, and even know about them, is because of their social content. And they essentially run their social media like a reality show. And they talk about when one of their batches got spoiled and they had to throw out $100,000 worth of product, or they talked about when they got sued by a competitor and how they had to deal with that, and they got scared and they had sleepless nights and stuff like that. And they do an incredible job. And how much, I don't know how much of this is 100% true, or maybe elaborate a little bit to make it more exciting, but they do an amazing job of, one, storytelling, but two, putting themselves out there. There's faces and names. Like, I recognize the CEO. His name's Jake. I've never met the guy, but I know his face and I know his story. I know his association to the brand. So when I see Midday Square in the whatever, in the grocery store or whatever it may be, I have that association to him, and I'd rather buy his chocolate than Hershey's because I have some sort of emotional connection to them. Not personally, but I understand the story. I want to support them. So yeah, it's super interesting when you're saying that. That's the first brand that came to mind and sort of subconsciously popped up. But I think there's this evolution of like faces to brands where a lot of people historically either like were scared to do it, didn't know how to do it, or didn't have the channels. And nowadays, like, my channel of distribution and getting my name out here is in my pocket. Like, I can do it from anywhere and do it. But it takes some balls to do it. And I think it
It's
takes
hard.
balls to do it, but it takes a lot of skill and strategy to do it really effectively. But yeah, I don't know your side of that or take on it. Do you think it's anyone can do it, or you have to sort of have the right personality trait to get it done?
I think anyone can do it. People don't because it is hard, right? There's no prep. There's no rhyme and reason to other than how did you fuck up? Like, what did you go through? How did that feel? And you got to make people connected to that. This is the biggest thing. If I'm sure there are a lot of Alex Hermosi fans that kind of listen to this as well too. I never liked him until I listened to his stuff, and then I really respected him. He just wasn't another guy selling a cheap book. If you were going to actually get his book, get his workbook off Amazon. This like launched last year. It's incredible. Really helped really formate my offer. We can go into a lot more of that later on, but his theory behind everything, and the same thing that happened with me, business did not start taking off until I actually connected with people. And that connection didn't happen until they actually really see how hurt I was. Because people want to help. We're inherently nice people that actually want to give and help. And the way like the human psychology works is that like when we receive something, whether it's a gift or an emotion or a sentiment, we want to repay that.
Yeah,
We're inherently nice people. So that is transactional in a sense. So again, you can't, and you're not the coolest person in the party when you're going around and saying, I got a fancy car, I got more money than you. You think that person's a douchebag. Let's just be honest about that. But when
yeah,
that person is there connecting you with listening to you and saying like, hey, I'm humanizing myself and these are my flaws, warts and all, right? Like it works. It
yeah.
really is because we're not judging that person. We're not thinking they're better than us. We're thinking that maybe I can learn something from this.
Yeah, it's like the vulnerability, which is interesting because if you look at social media, it's sort of the opposite, right? Like you see the whatever, Iman and Ghazi, like the guy who's driving Bentleys and Lambos and stuff like that, and he gets a ton of views, but everyone who's watching him thinks he's a douchebag. But if you're sort of
Mm-hmm.
more vulnerable and emotional, like you have that emotional tie, which is way more powerful from a transaction perspective. Maybe you don't want to watch everyone on TikTok moping about how bad their life is every single day, but it's a lot sexier to watch people drive nice cars than to be emotional and talk about their struggles. But if you really want to build that emotional connection, it's probably more valuable in the long term.
There's a balance. Like again, people buy better versions of themselves. So when you see those fancy cars, you want that and you want to be that, right? And so you're going to throw money at that and hopefully get quick rich. Um, or rich quick, I should say here. But essentially, like when you break it all down, there's a level of what's my resilience and how did I break through this, right? Like
Yeah,
stories have arcs and arcs have gap moments. And these gap moments are just how do I get from point A to point B? This
yeah,
is my logical progression. You people are not paying for that end solution. Like, don't get me wrong, they are. They're paying for that understanding of the journey that there is a way out, that, I'm not alone on this and that I can put out what I want online because like we talked about this before, it's scary when you put stuff out there, you will lose followers and friends you think that are like good friends of yours. They will stop following you. And it's interesting, but you kind of break through that and you kind of get numb. And I like to call it calloused. Once you hit your rock bottom moments, you lose a bunch of money, you lose some big clients. You are calloused, and from there you can kind of just grow and nothing faces you anymore, and it
yeah.
becomes so much easier. But rip out that band-aid.
Yeah, fair enough. That's a good intro and segue to a couple of things, but I want to jump into like sort of more actionable and strategies that people can implement. But I guess just to sort of summarize that, it's like build your personal brand, build your company brand, learn how to tell really good stories, but not just high level exciting stories about new things. Be vulnerable and emotional and open with your audience, and they'll be able to grow bonds with you over a long time and build that connection. I guess would that be a fair summary if we're going to synopsize
Yeah.
as quickly as possible?
Absolutely, absolutely, and like that leads into how I get business. Is that I do cold email primarily, probably like 95%, and I offer zero value in my emails. I launched a campaign 2 days ago, 17, 18 leads in about 48 hours for my email campaigns, and they're
Yeah,
still going on, and I offer no value.
yeah. So share it. What's the secret sauce? What's the strategy that you have in terms of who you're targeting, how you're getting connected to them? What's the messaging?
I just tell jokes and paint a picture. And everyone's like, shorter the better. My emails are long. Like I send a very long 4 or 5 pager email sometimes, walking them through a story. And I always get like, this is the best email I've ever read, or I'm glad I took this out of spam, or responding to this, or haha, okay, what do you want? It's everything from being very personal in the very beginning. My best tactics are just, disarming people. Hey, or I say howdy, which is just really weird, and nobody does that, right? So like, who produces that email with howdy, right? Right now, they're caught off guard. So howdy, it's Bryce. I had to reach out. Your brand looked absolutely killer, right? Like it's not formal at all. And I always put in brackets. Plus, like you seem like a really cool person, and I kind of would love to meet you. So we have to meet. Get this, dot, 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 next paragraph, right? So we're leading down, like, what am I getting? So we're having these open-ended loops. And what open-ended loops are, the story is not complete before another one opens up. So get this, right? It's the start of a new story. What are you going to tell me? I introduce something else before I solve the what are they going to be getting. And so I largely just kind of go through and say, I want to help you become more famous. But wait, hear me out. This means a lot more than what you think. Dot, 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 next paragraph. Okay, like, where are we going with this here? And then we move into more of I want to help you become more famous, like more attractive out there with an outlet. So I don't tell them where or what. I just give them the idea of that, like, I want to help you become more famous. And what does that fame mean? Well, we can open that up to really introspection of anything, but it leaves it up to what they can make their own decisions. I don't want to tell them exactly what they're going to get. I want to make them believe, like, what does that mean and what's important for them? Because I don't know what they need until they get on that sales call. At least I can open up the image of, if they get more attention, they know that's going to mean more sales, more traction, more opportunity, whatever that is. And from there, it's literally just jokes. And I just say, I want to get you more attention. And then I go and say, I would love to, I say a little rhyme in there. I can't remember what it is, but I want to help you get your leads by focusing on your PR needs or something. That I put in brackets, like, not a famous rapper, right? And then I say, like, if you want help with your PR or maybe with your vacuuming or house tidying needs, let me know, right? And I always put like dusting is extra or something like that. And I put a picture of a ferret wearing a hat. And I said, according to the internet, like, his name is Colin, and this is my secret weapon. So I get that. And I just send that out. Like, there's just like one line that I want to do PR. There's a bunch of the animal photos, images, like jokes of me not being a rapper. And
you gotta send me one of these emails after. It sounds like it's a book. It's not like it's an email.
It's stupid. Like, it's like, this is the most ridiculous thing ever. Then I have anyone says, like, anyone that can tell a story this well, then I'm interested. Or like, if this is really funny and matches your name, who has the balls to name your company this? Like, that's neat.
Yeah.
And so I polarize with the name that gets attention. I tell a really good story that people laugh. And then my follow-up emails are just my biggest secret weapon on cold email is I send an email the day later and I say, sorry, forgot to include the link to my website sent from my iPhone, right? So it looks natural. It really does. At the same time, Google, I study inbox placement and spam filters and everything. I always get inbox placement. I don't put links in your first email. So that's like an excuse to do so. Then every email after that, it's a follow-up. I have an image of me, even an iPad looking sad, and I use AI to write their name in there. So it looks like handwritten. I said, like, this is me not getting your email today. And then I'll send some more follow-up emails of me, like, carrying badly Photoshopped babies out of a burning building, saying, like, what's it like to work with a hero? Come and find out. It goes on. And like, the more I have a lot of people saying that I don't want to respond because I want to see what's going to happen next. And it's always a fun conversation.
That's amazing. Is that, have you been using this sequence for a long time, or you sort of build them out all the time? It sounds like you put a lot of thought and effort into crafting these and being on brand with it.
Honestly, I've changed it up a lot and kind of see what works. I've like maneuvered. Sometimes I just get bored and I send stuff. I started doing a lot of LinkedIn DMing and it worked really well. It just was time consuming. I just put like, hey, you're interesting. Google Elon Musk. Now Google you. What do you see the difference? Right. ... Like there's more to your story. Believe in yourself. Like, that worked really well.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I get pitched daily on, I can increase your sales, your leads by 20% or 25 bookings a month or whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone pitches that, right? You want to work with someone you like.
Be different or be the opposite. And my thought goes to, and some other people might be thinking the same thing. It's like, this humor and this approach works really well in your world, in the PR world, because you're in the eyeball game. You're trying to get stories out there and be creative. It might not work in the enterprise software game or whatever it may be, professional services game. But I guess, what's your rebuttal to that, or how should other founders think about using humor and eye-catching images and stuff like that in their outreach?
Yeah, so your army of listeners doesn't come attack me and say I invented this. I didn't. Look at Charm Offensive. It's a guy named by John Buchkan. He like coined this type of thing. I took a lot from him on this, but he is an enterprise sales guy that goes and sells to some of the big blue chip companies, Fortune 500, and also smaller companies at the same time. All he does is send ridiculous stuff. Physical mail works really well to weird emails. I took from him. I reiterated based on a little cheekiness of our brand, and that was the
Yeah.
best decision we did in order to get business. From then and there out, leads have just been easy. I don't have a lead problem, which is really interesting. I have a capacity problem right now, and who the hell do I want to work with problem, because I want to work with good clients.
Interesting. Charm. I've never heard of Charm Offensive. Is it a book or it's a strategy or what is it?
Yeah, it's like, it's a bunch of online courses and some, like, swipe files and stuff. Like, it's really interesting to take a look at that. But
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. That's super interesting, and you don't hear that very often from founders. Is that they don't have a demand problem; they have a execution or a service supply problem. So hopefully, I'm going to run a campaign. Like I'm getting inspiration of how I can run different campaigns. But I think you bring up a good thing. Is like all of us get emails or whatever DMs, the same thing every single day. I can help you book 20 more meetings this month. I can solve this problem. I can do that. But you don't get. I've never got a DM with someone holding a burning building with a cat in it or something like that. I guess the takeaway is like just try to be different and stand out from the pack and be more polarizing is what I'm taking out of it, because polarizing is either good or bad, and the best thing about it is not in the middle. Being in the middle and being that gray zone or being that ghost area is not good for anyone. I'd rather get a no than get a ghost. So I'm sure you get a lot of no's and I'm sure you get a ton of yeses, but at least you're getting replies, which is the most.
yeah, no, I mean, honestly, everything from literally death threats to like, absolutely, let's work this. I get it all, but that's kind of the name of the game, right? So
Yeah.
I'm here to charmingly offend, but like this brand, in a way that makes them kind of question everything, and their own business.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a very unique approach, and my background sales, and I haven't heard of Trauma Fence, nor have I heard someone taking it as to such a far extent as yourself. But obviously, it's worked, or you wouldn't continue to do it. So that's super interesting. And I guess a sidebar from being a PR expert is more of like an outbound sales strategist and taking that a more drastic approach.
Yeah, I mean, like, my background wasn't PR. Just like, it kind of chose me because I was good at getting myself in the media. Like, I worked in IoT, venture capital, and like launched a bunch of SaaS brands. And I've never done a dollar in paid ads or like any social content. I just told stories from a small city in Winnipeg, small city in Canada called Winnipeg, and that not a lot of people have heard about. And how do you get deals with Americans, people around the world? Make it look like you're important. And so I was able to raise money, have people trust me just by them Googling me, and I think that's
Yeah.
missing for a lot of people.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate that, and obviously it's worked. So I think that's some pretty big takeaways there. And I guess pivoting a little bit more into your world now. So you run a PR agency, and as you said, focus on e-commerce and SaaS businesses. I've never been a PR guy. Like I've never invested in PR for my own company. I've never really been involved with PR in my previous companies. It was sort of just the black box of ad spend and sort of marketing budget that was out there. And I've never really done a due diligence into what PR is. If you could provide like a framework or an overview of like how to think about PR, if someone was going to go do PR for their own personal brand or their own company or whatever it may be, how they should think about structuring that, how they should go execute on it. Like give me a lay of the land of how you think about PR.
Yeah, absolutely. The number one thing, I jump on every sales call and I take them all personally. And the first thing I said to everyone is, I don't think you should do PR. And so I try to push people away from it. A lot of people are not ready. And those that actually understand how to integrate marketing with telling stories is important. I think all of us are looking for that magic bullet of, hey, this isn't working. I got to try something else. And so if anyone comes to me and says, I need more leads, or I need more business, more traffic, more sales, go run some ads. I mean, go do that, right? You're looking for PR ROI. That's not a PR perspective. I don't do lead gen. I do trust gen. Okay. And so that's the biggest thing for us, is that when I work with people and who I want to work with and how we shape brands, it's more when people are Googling you, looking at alternatives, when they're launching your ads, going to your socials, they're inherently going to be trying to find ways they can disprove who you are. Either they don't trust your product, they don't trust you as a person, or they don't trust they're going to get the results. There's always three areas around that. So I like to build a lot of trust around these three areas. And so you said something very interesting, which I say all the time. I think all agencies, I should say that most agencies are big black box. You give them a bunch of money, you don't know what we're doing with it. I take a big step back from someone who's actually used agencies before, built my own business. I come at this in the perspective of, I think that PR alone in itself, if you get articles and features, is absolutely nothing. But if you can leverage that into a framework and an organic evergreen system of attention, then yeah, you've got something pretty unique, but it takes time to build. And so there's always timelines and structures and everything like that. Because here's the interesting part, and I'm going to get a little interactive here with our stuff, but what's really
Yeah.
interesting is that the media and the outlets, they don't care about interesting stories. And let's be honest, like people on TikTok and Instagram are not posting interesting stories, they're posting clickable moments, right? So these outlets, these people care about clicks, they care about eyeballs, so it's bring a lot of attention. Oh, we got to find a way. How do we build a framework that actually gives them a lot of clicks? Because we've got tons of people featured in Forbes and TechCrunch and Times and Fortune, and nothing's happened. But then we got a lot of people featured and then they blow up. So we ask ourselves why. Well, this chocolate company you mentioned, I've never heard them before. If I see them within Forbes, I'm not going to be clicking on that. Why would I? Right? They I've no interest in me. Now that you mentioned them, probably when I see their name, I'm going to read up about them. Right? Like that's a bit of brand awareness. That's going to drive clicks. So we got to build this framework where we cast a wide net of getting attention, places where people are reading, enough we can build evangelism and true fans that people can see your brands that they are social share. And this is the most important part to everything else is that PR is meant for trust generation and building opportunity. When something negative is out there about you, or when people are searching for you, your SEO, your AI tools, Perplexity, your GPT, whatever they're doing, we're having a way. And because it comes down to two things, is exposure and credibility. Exposure is easy. Go run some ads, right? Maybe go and maybe do a lot more social in that sense and do some pushes that way. I mean, it's all just ad spend in itself, paid acquisition, but credibility is a hard thing to actually swallow. When we look at that a little bit deeper, credibility always means better like average lifetime value, average order values. We're talking about increasing prices, conversions. We see ads perform a lot better because you actually are trusted by Google and Facebook, and therefore your cost of acquisition goes down. We've seen a lot more in terms of your conversions, your on-site optimization, your retargeting work better with PR, with logos and so forth. So on its own, I think it's difficult, but it works quite well. But you got to have more of a longer term mind frame to take a look at this. Because like I said before, it's all about opportunity. And that is the partnerships and deals, investors, top talent, and all that kind of stuff. So now that I kind of got that out of the way, like what should we do PR or not? Only if you understand it takes, maybe 6 to 7 months. I have like more 1 to 7 here, mostly because of the fact that like sometimes we can knock them apart right away. But my goal with PR is to do opposite of what every other agency says. It's like, hey, I'm going to get you featured here and here and here. No. I want to actually get you coverage that actually leverages and tells your story. And that's the most important part. How we build enough information and enough attention that people come knocking on your doors. Podcasts want to interview you. People want you to speak on their stage. People are leaning on you for your advice because they saw you and they believe what you have to say. This is relationship building. This is people trusting other people. You get covered once, you should be covered 10 times over again by that same outlet, not a one-off. So when we build all this, we actually build it under the client's brand. I don't want to own it. I got my connections. Yeah, I make intros. People like me in the industry. I can say I got this cool brand. But my goal is for you to own this internally so that at that 8 to 12 month mark, you just take the keys, run with it. You don't need my help anymore. You can run this internally. So we take this like daily grind and then use a lot of social listening and do the one thing I think a lot of people screw up on is your goal is not to find what other people are writing about and then repitch them on that. Your goal is content and a gap analysis. What brought popularity? Go on Forbes website. They list exactly every top article and the number of views they get. Go find that top article. Get something over 20,000 views on that. Go and find the reporter. Not hard to use with clay.com or hunter.io or Apollo tools. Easy to get, right? A lot of free trials on that. And then go and pitch them. You wrote about this. This is what's trending. This is what's going on. I see a new idea around here. This is gap analysis content pitching. Not you wrote about this. This is what's interesting and what's trending. This is what went viral for you. This is what will go viral again as a continuation in story and build that relationship. You provide them awesome value, a story that sticks, they're going to come back to you. And so this is that framework. This is like that framework we're talking about here where we cast that wide net, smaller mid-time stories, really getting people to know you, where a lot of people start and stop at getting you within like publications or features or roundups. We use that in order to get you some better podcasts, build a story, and then start moving up that ladder to bigger features. This is when we start focusing on customer highlights and consumer stories because people have seen your product and your features and who you guys are down here. This is where we get into those deep interviews, those evangelism type of stories and credibility. Once that happens, it's easy to get awards. We write ebooks for people if we need to, because if you don't know what Google knowledge panels are, Google yourself, Google someone that's famous and see how they take up all of Google. We build those for people. Awards start rolling in. You can become on councils. Like Forbes Council is easy to get on, but the other councils you can kind of speak on, directories, so forth. Your North Star are the people knocking on your door, asking for opportunities. We've had clients that say, I easy got investment, or I got partnerships with Apple because they saw us in the smaller magazine. They thought they loved our story. They wanted to work with us. That's what PR is for, is that I create moments that opens doors that make people so intrigued with what you're doing that not only do they trust you, they want to be part of something that you're doing, because the world's a blur, content is boring and dull, and they want to be behind something that brings some excitement and enjoyment to their life again. We do not find and search for stories that are interesting. We search for stuff that actually are going to bring us clicks, one-on-one. And so we build these frameworks around everything we do there in order to make that happen. So that's kind of a bit of a nutshell. But you want to know how to build your own framework? Go listen to Alex Hormozi. Go get that workbook that I was talking about, the $1 Million Offer workbook. Go through and determine your ICP, your ideal customer profile, and your offer. Figure that out and build a framework around that that's stackable and interesting. And I want to leave with this. What I mean by stackable is you have to provide a lot of offer in terms of, I offer PR, but I also have a lot of partnerships with other podcasts. I have partnerships with other SEO agencies, and they provide services for my clients for free, and I provide them services every time they sign up somebody. So you get them on a sales call and you have 7 additional tack-ons, 7 additional upsells for them. They say no, offer them the next one for free. They say no to that. Okay, I'm going to throw this one. They say no to that, throw in the next one, all the way up to 7. They're going to say yes. If they say yes on the very first one, sign them on, onboard them, and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to give you all this for free without them even knowing. So we stack offers and commitments and opportunities from other communications and agencies to give them so much goddamn value that they're saying this is the best onboarding experience I've got in the first 90 days. You understand my business. You actually care enough about you're putting me in front of all these people. And so there's more than just offering service. You're offering and understanding how to improve their business. You don't have to do it yourself. Find other experts and leverage their skill sets. It's simple. It's easy. And if you do good work, people are going to want to work with you.
For sure. First of all, what software are you using?
Mm-hmm.
You're flying on this presentation.
Mm-hmm. It's called.
I've looked at it before. I'm like, I want a horrible company name, but you're flying all over my screen. You're popping up the left, right, center. I've looked at it. It's funny. It's called for anyone's listening. It's very, I don't know how to actually spell it and get to the website, but maybe I'll link it below. Very cool presentation tool. It's kind of distracting, truthfully. I was watching you float around the screen. I don't know if you've had that feedback before, but if anyone's looking to do these interactive presentations, then it's a good platform to look into. This is awesome. I think this is a great mental exercise to think about PR of like, it's not just getting an article. It's about creating a system and creating as evergreen or a cycle of being able to repurpose that content and create a bigger brand. My general question for you, because I think in my brain, I think about PR as old school, getting news articles, getting published online, getting other media outlets to share your story on your behalf. The modern way of PR has changed a lot, right? Like you can distribute your own content on all these channels. You don't need these legacy companies to help you on your PR journey. Am I thinking about it the right way, that there's 2 different buckets of PR, or are they intertwined now? Do they operate separately? Is one of them dead and one of them's the best way to focus on? Like, what is the modern world of PR, and where's like the best bang for your buck if I'm going to go spend a week on building out my PR machine? How should I think about leveraging those channels?
Yeah, here's the honest secret. Let's just dive into like the legitimacy of PR. There's the dirty side of PR, and then there's the clean side of PR, and we call that the earned media side. I operate on the earned media side. The dirty side, I call it, are everyone, and I don't want to mention their company names, but there are fluffy animals or water animals named after these companies, or like other ones that start with a B, but that's all I'm going to get at. They say, hey, I'm going to get you featured in Forbes or USA Today. You're paying for this. These are guest posts. You want to go on guest posts? Go on Fiverr and pay $15 for a guest post somewhere. They're for SEO purposes, right? You want to actually fix your SEO? Yeah, we've got like thousands of these that we work with. So it's easier for us not have to go search for them, but you can get on half these places that all these people are pitching just by writing your own content and paying a couple bucks. These agencies sell them for hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can get them for tens of dollars. And that's like the part that I hate, is that like real PR is the earned media side. That's where you're actually getting people to authentically write stories about you and tell their opinion because they have an audience. But more importantly, they know what their audience wants. And all of us think that we know what our customers want, but inherently we're always wrong. And why? Because we're so product focused. They know that what their customer and audience is reading. And I'll give you an example. I had an AI client and we're talking to Forbes, and Forbes said, I'm not writing about AI anymore. I'm not interested. Like these are my favorite conversations because everyone stops and says, I lost it. I say, well, what are you writing about? No response. Hey, this is so curious. This is how you wrote about this. This would be interesting. What are you writing about? And I just got back marketing. I'm like, very cool. What in marketing? Paid marketing. I responded, I had a client that spent 20K in Facebook ads, got 0 conversions off an algorithm chain, but learned this. And they're like, okay, I'm interested. And so we had a conversation with them. They did a feature on them on ad spend, which led to a full feature on their AI product. And so these are the doors and stories that make very interesting moments in conversation with PR. This is what PR is about, relationship building. Because now I got that guy on call who is going to utilize his company for any AI inquiries, and this happened already. So what's PR meant for you? What's the purpose of this? It's really to have these authentic places tell your story in a way that backlinks to you for online articles, and also allows you to tell your story in a way that makes people follow you. How? Podcasts. So hot right now. And probably the best e-commerce tool and SaaS tool for anyone to grow is start telling your story and that people believe in it. We primarily push online digital outlets, no more TV, no more radio. I don't get a lot of that, but like podcasts and like digital outlets online that backlink for SEO purposes, that have a lot of viewers and traffic. So how do you get this? Like there are a lot of tools you can go and do this for yourself. And what makes my job hard is the follow-up. It's the story writing. It's the constant being on the pulse looking for stories. Is it rocket science? No, right? A lot of marketing isn't. You're hiring people who actually know the process to make this happen. If you want to go figure it out, then yeah, go get clay.com and buy a bunch of credits and write out all the outlets you want to be on there and let the algorithm and AI find the content information for that. Go to Apollo and find that for you, or Hunter. Not hard to do. You got your dream outlets, go make it happen. And so you can find the contact information. Now you just got to pitch them a story that's interesting. How? Go get Ahrefs, Uber suggests, find content analysis, see what's trending, and then just cold email them. Like you don't need to have connections. And that's the one thing people think is that, oh, this agency's got connections. Because I got a friend in Forbes and they kind of what I do, doesn't mean they're going to drop everything and write about you. Like, why would they want to bet that your product or service is good and bet their reputation on it? It's your job to show them that you're an expert in other outlets first so they can lean on you. It doesn't matter if it's my best friend. They're not going to ruin their reputation to feature you. So go put in a little legwork and try to get these stories and be interested.
Yeah, 100%. No, the access to information is available to anyone. But the story is something that wants to be crafted, and something that I recommend. I used to consult for like startups and like seed round companies and on the sales side of it. And my biggest issue was always that 99% of the companies I worked with were technical led. The CEO was technical led or finance led or whatever it may be. And they had no clue how to tell a story. And they would just come in, share their screen, pitch the product, talk about the features. And they didn't understand the idea of a story, because when you're getting pitched with someone who tells a really good story, you sort of don't even realize that you're listening to a pitch, because it just comes off as like a very natural story. And what I would always recommend them is like, stop talking about your product, tell your authentic story, and go tell your mom.
Mm-hmm.
If they understand the product, if they understand the problem, and they understand the reason that you're going to be able to help that person, then you have a pretty good story. Then go tell your grandparents. And if they can understand it, then you have a good story. Because I think that's the big thing with storytelling, is like everyone tries to get so overcomplicated and uses fancy words and tries to make this like big grand plan. Simple, exciting, interesting stories is all that really matters. And if your grandparents and your parents or whatever, people who aren't in your world can comprehend it, then people in your world will really be able to absorb it. And I like the idea of like parent or grandparent testing, because it really makes you think about how to like dumb it down as simple as possible, because no one cares about democratizing financial education in Uganda. Like no one cares. Like no one wants a sort of overly educated and structured pitch. Like they just want to know what problem you personally had, or what problem you saw, how you struggled to figure out that solution, and then now how your solution is going to make your life better. And if you can tell that story very, very compact, it's going to have way more impact than having the nicest features in the entire.
Yeah, I mean, like another saying was around that is always pitch like you're talking to a 6-year old, right? It's just, kiss, keep it simple, stupid, right?
Yeah.
And the idea behind this is like, yeah, like we're really good at that. And something I was like doing like before Don't Be a Little Pitch in PR, taking people's stories and 10-minute pitches and turning it into 20 seconds and be able to sell and pitch better than them. Like that is where the incredible part is that how you can connect with someone you feel they're smarter than you on, right? You feel intimidated. It's like every investor pitch, because my background is investor angel capital. If you feel like make the investors feel like they're stupid, they're going to feel inadequate and like they can't help you, right? And so the idea around that is pitch something that people can understand, so you're not above them, you're with them.
100%. And sort of to put a bow on this, but I think you've given a lot of really interesting take and an approach for people to go and really craft their story and pitch themselves effectively. Because I think this is widespread, right? Like if you can tell a really good story, that will help you sell better, that will help you market better, that will help you run PR campaigns better, make you run ad campaigns better, it'll help you recruit talent better. And I think just storytelling is like the superpower to everything. If someone wanted to go and study how to become a great storyteller and how to like craft their own company story, you mentioned Charm Defensive. That's more on like the outbound sales side of it. You mentioned Hormozi. Are there any maybe like a book or a podcast or a newsletter or a person that someone could go study that you would highly recommend?
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite podcasts is My First Million. A lot of people have heard about that, but like listen to how they just tell stories authentically, and they're there to inform and not sell. The best way to sell is to inform, and I think what telling your story matters the most. I would take a look at that and then Google some other people that just done some interesting stuff. I like to use myself, like all ego aside, and why I totally believe in storytelling is because I took a napkin drawing and 4 months, just like napkin drawing, posted online and told a story and sold $1 million of it without even having a product. And I've never done $1 paid ads, like I said before, and everything. So how do you tell a story? Tell what can happen with people and what's going to happen with that. Listen to Hormozi to craft your offer. Listen to this Charm Offensive in order to actually understand how to do outreach properly. And listen to other podcasts to listen to how people tell stories, because we're not bad storytellers, we're bad story collectors. Yeah. And so I think that's the hardest thing is that find those and listen to ways that people, how they inspire you and make you feel. You get those shivers during a conversation, in a call, in a moment, right? The reason why, and write that down. So all of us have our own tactics. Yeah. And who I study is more on the humorous and the offensive side. And I turn that into kind of stories. But whether you want to sell through vulnerability or through tough tactics or your own personality, I think it's going to matter what you digest and how you want to turn that into a label.
Yeah, fair enough. That's great to hear. The side of it, and when you're talking about it, is I think nowadays an easy place to consume storytelling content, or at least attention grabbing content, is TikTok. TikTok is so overwhelmed with content. If you're going and sitting at home and scrolling through TikTok, like you see 100 TikToks in a minute, you stop on one of them and it caught your attention for some reason, and you can learn how that person caught your attention, how they told their story, and how they made you watch that 60-second or whatever 45-second video. Doesn't mean that's how you should approach it, but there's little like tactics and strategies these people are using to gain your attention. And yeah. Storytelling is attention grabbing, and you can learn it really from anywhere, or at least be inspired by it from a lot of different places.
Can I still a minute and 30 seconds to talk about TikTok for a second?
Yeah, I love it.
There are two moments in like every e-commerce person's life that's kind of like a gold rush. One was the launch of Amazon, and now it's TikTok Shop. And so we're actually moving heavily into influencer, I shouldn't say influencer, creator marketing very soon. So UGC creators, user-generated content. And why this is so important is because Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest and all this, whatever you want to use your social channels for, are meant for page design and the content you put out there. TikTok Shop is nothing to do with that. You are building an army around of people who are promoting products. These armies are making, every individual is probably making roughly like over 6 figures a month promoting other people's products. So what do? Shoot podcasts, put out interesting content, go find these people, strike a deal, offer them affiliate commission, and let them run with it. They know the latest dances, the latest moves, the latest trends. These people are going out and creating so much content for these products and building affiliate links just by getting the For You and trending page of TikTok Shop. It's massive. It's moving. It's so successful right now. Every e-commerce, I'm biased on PR, every e-commerce shop should do TikTok Shop #1 right now. And then when people Google you, I think there should be some sort of PR stories out there, whatever you want. But there's such an advantage right now for every e-commerce store. You can be making millions in the next 2 to 3 months.
It's the wild west TikTok shop right now. And the crazy thing is that these people are making hundreds of thousands a month on affiliates. These are kids that are doing it because they grew up with TikTok, and that's sort of their world is these short form videos and TikTok and shorts and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's pretty crazy what can be accomplished nowadays. And you don't need to have a massive following. You just have to hit that algorithm and hit the For You page and tell a good story.
And they know what to do. And like you don't need to provide them really any instructions. They're going to do some sort of voiceover content, which is like popular right now. They're going to take your product and do that. Let them run with it.
Crazy. Yeah, it's that world. I don't know anything about it. I just know there's, as you said, a gold rush in the UGC TikTok shop world, but I'm sure that's a whole nother podcast to dive into that. But no, I really appreciate you jumping on, and I can tell your passion for what you do, and I think you have a really unique approach, which caught my attention, and obviously a unique approach that you work with your clients as well. So I appreciate you shedding some light on how to approach PR and marketing and brand building, and obviously it's worked for you, and hopefully it'll work for other people as well.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me here. I know I blew through this quite quickly due to limited amount of time, and probably maybe you have a lot more questions, but they're there for a reason, right? So it's really fun to share my advice on here and just make sure people understand that your biggest sales advantage is just your key vulnerability moments. Go tell them. You'll be surprised really well.
That's awesome. Well, I'll make sure to link to your profile if anyone wants to reach out and try a cold email to get your attention as well. But I appreciate the time, and we'll speak soon.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate you.
Bryce.